Hey guys, my name is Morgan and welcome to today's video. We have got pallets. We found these pallets on the side of the road. They were dumped there with a bunch of tires and whatnot. And we are going to be trying to build a fence. We are going to build a fence for each of the beds. We have 3 dogs and they seem to wander over all of my beds and they don't seem to really have a care of what's going on. So we're going to be using these. We're going to build a fence. We're going to see how it goes. So with these pallets, what we're actually going to do is we're going to take out these nails and we're going to use each piece of timber. We're going to hold them upright and we're going to put them against our droppers. So we're going to take them apart. We're not going to use the entire thing as one wall. We're going to take all of these apart, use all these pieces in between, use all these ones going across and the ones underneath. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to take it apart and use each individual piece. So here we have the droppers. These are basically just some wooden poles that we are going to cut in half, and we're going to bury them a little bit, and that's what we're going to use to attach our timber to. So my dad and I are both working on this project now, and we're just going to get a tape measure up how long the pieces are, and we're going to go down to the bed and see how many pieces we need, if we might overlap them. So we're going to measure up and go see what we have. Yeah, so we've taken off this first piece here. This one's actually cracked. It's actually broken in 2 pieces, but it's the first one. We're just using it for measurements and stuff like that. So this is what we're going to be using. The tools we're using are a combination of a chisel, a hammer, and a carpenter's pliers. We're just pulling out the nails and trying as best as possible not to damage the wood. But yeah, we're just using the hammer and the chisel to pry it open, and then we're using the carpenter's pliers to pull the nails out. Okay, so as you can see, these pallets are a little bit longer than what the bed is. So what we've decided is we're actually going to make the bed a little bit larger instead of cutting our pieces of timber and having little offcuts and pieces left over. So this is how long the bed is going to be eventually. So once we are done laying out all our pieces and have the correct measurements, then we'll see how it goes, and the bed will definitely be getting a little bit bigger. The next thing I need to do now is dig out this bed to 2.4 meters. At the moment it's a little bit shy of 2.4, so I'm going to go out maybe another 400 mils. So I'm going to dig out this bed and make it a little bit longer so that it fits the fence that we're going to make. Here we have our droppers that we've cut in half, and you can see we've actually cut them at a little bit of an angle, which allows us to peg them in the ground and we can hammer them straight in. And luckily with this rain that we've had, the soil is lacquer moist and soft, so we can just put them straight in, knock them into the desired height, and we're all set. Yeah, we have the layout. We've got our droppers going on the side, and this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be overlapping our pieces of plank, which allows us to connect them onto one dropper. So we need to get another 1, 2, 3, 4 maybe pieces like this. So yeah, and we'll also, according to the length of our piece of timber, we'll probably extend the bed till about there as well. So this is going to be like a big one. What we've actually discovered now is if we had to use one of these to go across the width, it's going to be a little bit too big and it's going to be very uncomfortable to work in. I'm not going to be able to reach the middle of the bed, and I'm going to have to lean over a huge amount over the fence to get on the inside. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut this in half. This is 1.2 meters, so we're going to cut it in half and it's going to be 600. So that means that we won't be wasting anything and it will fit perfectly on the width of the bed. So while I was busy digging up this other little piece of the bed, my dad started cutting the 1.2s into 600, and here's one of the halves. So these ones are going to be going on the side like this, and we are going to have to put our stakes in, and we're going to see if we're going to have like one at the bottom, if we're going to have one over there, if we're going to have 1, 2, 3, if we're going to cut them in half. So lots of deciding and seeing, so that's the next step. So what we have actually discovered now, these pieces, if we had to make a fence, we'd have to have one piece at the bottom, or one piece midway, and then one piece at the top here. So one piece would be midway. Let's just move this one out the way. One piece would be midway, and one piece would be at the top. And while I was laying all my things down, just so that we know, okay, these two are going to come here, as I was laying it down, I'm thinking, why don't we just make a raised bed? Why don't we just make a proper, good-looking raised bed? And then I mentioned it to my dad, and he's like, yeah, that's actually quite a cool idea. And then all we do is we just tie a little bit of rope from here across to the other side, so just to keep the dogs out, and then we still have a proper raised bed. And this is a lot of depth to grow most plants, and there's all that soil at the bottom there and everything underneath. So we're thinking we're going to make this bed a raised bed, and we're going to give that a try. So yeah, plans have changed. We're going to make a raised bed instead of making this thing a fence, and then just add a little bit of rope that's going to go across just to keep the dogs out. So here you can see that there is definitely a little bit of a misjudgment in measurements. The bed is coming a little bit further than what the raised bed is going to end, and that's because when I built this bed, I didn't have any measurements, I didn't have any plan. I locally just wanted to have it in the ground without any structure around it. I didn't plan for anything ahead. So that's why when I followed the line of the previous bed, when I did this extension, you can see it's coming a little bit further than what it should be. So just thought I'd mention that the bed is going to carry on over here. You're going to have another piece that's going to come along like this, and there will be a little bit of a gap here, but that's okay. The main bed is going to be this side. So here we have the first pallet completely dismantled. We have some short pieces, some longer pieces, some thicker than others. So now the next step is to take out all the nails that we have left. We're going to be using our carpenter's pliers and a hammer, and we're just going to be taking out all these nails. Cool. This right here is some twine, and we are going to be using this to block off this top little section just to keep the dogs out. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut our desired length, and we're going to cable tie this on just for a little bit of extra strength. So we're probably going to have maybe 2 or 3 lines going across. The next step now is to get some topsoil for this raised bed. We're going to be filling it up all the way to the top, and before we can put our twine on, we need to have this thing full so it's going to be easier, and we don't have to then put our soil over the twine and stuff like that. So we're going to go out, get some topsoil and put it in, and then we'll be able to finish off the bed. There we have our topsoil. It's around half a trailer, and this is now going to be carted. I'm going to have to get my wheelbarrow, and we're going to have to go all the way down there to the bottom of the garden. So yeah, just want to show you guys, got our topsoil. It's drizzling a little bit now, so I'm going to take a break, go inside a little bit. I don't too particularly want to work when it's all wet and get the soil all wet and muddy and stuff like that. So yeah, going to take a little bit of a break now, and then we'll get straight back to it. The rain has finally died down a little bit, so I've got my wheelbarrow over there, got my spade, so let's get this going. Alright, so there we have the first layer of topsoil in. Now it is time for a bag of compost. There we have the first layer of mulch in. I'm not going to dig it through. We're going to do a little bit of an experiment, and we're going to put another layer of topsoil, and then we're going to put another layer of compost. So there's going to be a bunch of layers between topsoil and compost, and I'm not going to mix anything through, and we'll see how that does. What I was wanting to do was, once I'd finished putting in the last layer of topsoil, what I wanted to do was give it a good water so that we can settle down, and before I put the mulch on, and then water everything, and then everything seems to be a little bit lower than usual. I thought I'd give it a water, see if I need to add more, and then I'd put mulch on top, or I'd add more topsoil to make sure that it's not too far down and everything's at the right level. But it seems to be raining decently moderate at the moment, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it rain, and I'm not going to give it any water now. I'm not going to basically weigh it down. I'll let it rain, and the rain will then make everything settle, and if it doesn't rain enough, I'll give it a bit of a water, but we'll see. It seems to be raining pretty okay, so I'm going to let the water basically do the work for me, and then we'll add a compost layer a little bit later. Just a quick rundown at the moment. This is what the bed looks like. It still needs a little bit of work. We need to still put the twine going across, going all the way around, and we're actually going to cable tie it to these droppers we have in here, and then there still needs a little bit of a compost layer on top. It does have a compost layer in the middle, but I like having a compost layer on top as well. It's like a compost mulch, so it does the same thing, keeps the soil nice and moist. So we're going to have a compost mulch layer on top. So yeah, a little bit more work, but it's raining now, so I'm going to take a little bit of a break, and we're going to carry on a bit later. So the rain has finally stopped, and it has done exactly what I wanted it to do. With the rain falling on this bed, it has made it nice and moist, and it's compacted everything down a little bit better. So I'm going to add a nice layer of some compost mulch, and then I'm going to put the twine around, and then we'll be all good and we'll be done. Now it is time to put our twine around the bed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, I'm going to tie a knot, I'm going to make it a double knot just so that it holds it there. I'm going to take one of our cable ties, and I'm going to tie the cable tie around just to add some extra strength, holding our twine on there. And I'm just going to give some slight pressure just to tighten it up, and then once I've tightened all of them, I'm going to come around and use our carpenting pliers, and I'm just going to snap them off. So we're going to go around, and we're going to carry on all the way around the bed. is the bed finally complete. Took a whole full day of work, but I think it looks absolutely amazing. I'm going to be planting my bell peppers that I have in the bathtub top there. I'm going to be planting them in here. So that's going to be a separate video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope you really enjoyed. Okay, I'll just edit that little bit.